Hello once again, this is Zandra. Welcome to my channel. I'd like to apologize for not videoing in the last 3 weeks because I have been very busy and dealing with myself of challenge after the last 2 sessions on past life. What I have found that it's been more difficult to deal with the memories it aroused in me following the first session because I did not expect the recovery to be so difficult. I talked about something that meant a lot to me in the dream world that became a reality when I met my Algonquin friend, and we lived a sort of, or part of the relationship we had as young Algonquins several hundred years ago. That has created all sorts of memories for me about being pursued, being persecuted, and experiencing loss at a different level to what I have experienced in this lifetime. And that has made me rethink the sessions on past life, because for many people who may have dreamt, like I did, episodes of a past life that they didn't understand that it was past life, or didn't connect the experience with past lives, or just as a dream. But for me, I connected it because I had 2 episodes of similar experiences that led to one. And because it's created so many issues for me in the last 3 weeks of remembering of the persecution that as an Algonquin young woman or an Opoyo young woman I experienced, I don't think I want to pursue this discussion anymore at the moment in time, because things are still reoccurring in my memory that makes me have difficulty dealing with. And that's the persecution. Because in this lifetime, I haven't experienced that level of persecution. But recalling persecution that happened 200-300 years ago, 400 years ago, because some of my past lives that I recall goes back to the 16th century and the 17th century. So those sort of difficulties has created all sorts of emotions within me. And I have thought maybe the listener or the viewer of this channel may also have problems dealing with what I might have awoken in them about their own past lives experiences. So today I wanted to reflect and share with you those issues that has been going on for me. Because if I have aroused memories in others that relates to past lives that they have found difficult, I want to apologize. But because I know how difficult it has been for me, and I know that for others who do not have the experiences as I have, or have the ability to deal with things as they arise in the present life, in the present realm that we are in, and unable to link it with the past realms that we have lived, may have more difficulties resolving it. So what I wanted to do today is to briefly discuss with you, if we have recalls of a past life, as I have done and you might have, try to address the issues not in the current realm we're in, but in the context, the historic context it occurred. And then that helps you to deal with it differently, because what we experience now is so alien to what our ancestors would have experienced. It's so much easier in lots of ways. And for our ancestors and ourselves in the past lives who experienced persecution as I did as a young Algonquin and an Opoyo, then we have to think about how we deal with the pain of the recall, because there is nothing we can do to change what happened several hundred years ago in those experiences. But what we can do is think about it in terms of what we can do now to ensure that another doesn't experience the same level of persecution or destructiveness by another. And look at ourselves and ensure that we don't behave in a manner that may cause another the same sort of pain. Because we may do. We may do from jealousy, we may do it from envy, we may do it from a sense of ill judgment and a sense of why haven't I got what you've got? Why am I experiencing these difficulties when you are not? So when we are thinking about how we deal with people today, we could also look at it in how we might have dealt with things in the past. And if we have difficulty dealing with the past that has happened to us, that we recall in our dream state or our awakened state, as I did last year when I experienced these visions that I had no control over, what we must consider is how we might alter our own behaviors to ensure that another doesn't suffer similar prejudices, similar reactions to them as we did in our past lives. So one of the things I learned from the recalling the past life of the Algonquin young woman and the Napoya young woman is that to ensure that when I relate to people, I relate in a manner that befits me today, that the person I am today, not the person escaping persecution or the person administering persecution, but as someone who understands what persecution does to the psyche, the emotional strengths, the mental strengths of the individual today, or the guidance that we get from the ancestors to ensure that we do not persecute another in a different fashion, but in a similar way. Because we often don't think that some of our behaviors may be persecutory, but it might be. We don't often think that some of the reactions that we might do to others, based on what they're sharing with us, or what they have to say, may be dismissive as well as rejecting, filled with rejection. How does that rejection help another? I don't think it does. How it affects the other matters. And maybe that's something we should consider. That when we engage with another today in this realm, we should be mindful that some of the memories we may have from our past lives, some of the persecutory reactions we had, or some of the persecutions that we might have committed, may impact on another in a similar manner. And what we need to be mindful of, that we have a choice. We have a choice whether we treat another with a lot of respect, love, unconditional love, or whether or not we behave in a manner that makes that person feel lesser than. And some time ago I talked about those experiences of being lesser than, better than, and more than. That plays in or comes into play when we are recalling a past life. It comes into play when we are dealing with emotions that a past life may arouse in us, because we are trying to deal with something that we have no control over because it happened many centuries ago, many years ago, where we were a different person, but we were the same soul. And this same soul must and should have learned some lessons from that experience in order not to repeat it in this present form. And as we exist in this realm, we should ensure that our behaviors to others are full of respect, full of unconditional love, and recognition that we are all capable of fulfilling the horrors of the past, but we could choose not to. And when we choose not to, we can then reconfigure how we wish to be seen now, how we wish to deal with others now, and how we wish to love others unconditionally now, which is important. And when we do that, we may find an inner joy that brings us inner peace, but gives us a direction in how to carry out our lives in the future. So today, when I talk about when we recall past lives in dreams or in experiences, ensure that we don't mirror some of those behaviors of the persecutor or of the victim and this present state, because this present environment has little to do with the past on all sorts of levels. And when we do that, we should be able to reflect what was the learning and what was the lessons, what was the unknowing that we do now know that we should improve on. What part of ourselves should we mirror back to another? What part of ourselves shall we own and cherish, having been a victim or a persecutor of a different realm? The realms we live in may not change. How we live in it changes. How we live in it could be informed by our socialization that we have experienced since our past lives events. And what we must learn is when we have experienced past lives that have been very traumatic, we can learn to be more sensitive, more graceful, more determined not to engage in activities that makes another feel the same way we did in the past life. When we encounter others who may bring darkness to our lives in this realm, ensure that we have enough light within ourselves to help another get out of the darkness or support that person to move away from the darkness that governs their lives. And if we can't, then recognize that we can't and don't pursue something we are unable to change, because that person has a choice whether the person wants to change the darkness that affects them or affects their present life, or wants to walk away from what darkness brings to them. And if that person chooses not to, then we have to recognize that it's their choice. We have a choice, and our choice is to try and live the best possible life we can now at this particular time in our lives, in this realm, given all the changes that are happening and all the recovery that we've had to do since the nightmare of COVID, this COVID saga, and try to be a more giving, more loving, more tolerant person in this present form, because we have a choice. That choice can inform so much of our behaviors and so much of the lessons we want to learn or want to teach another or can share with another. So try sharing, try reflecting, try reclaiming that beauty within ourselves and releasing the past and the hurts of the past to make sure we enjoy this present time the best possible way we can, and that we don't repeat some of the behaviors of others that has been expedited in our past lives for various reasons. We know historically some of the motivations of the persecutors of the past, but we don't have to repeat it. We can make a choice, and that choice is to ensure that we are guided by Spirit now, that we have learned from those lessons, we have learned from our persecutions, and we have now learned not to persecute another. And we can continue to learn to treat another with respect and the dignity and the integrity they deserve. So I want to thank you today and wish you well. And next week or the week after, I will be started to talk about another aspect of our past lives, which isn't about persecution. It's about joy. It's about love. And it's about life. I thank you and I wish you have a nice day. If you like what I've said or the topics I've talked about, please share and subscribe to the channel, and I will get back to you sooner or later. Bye-bye. Take care. Have a good day.